Moving on to Luke chapter 5:16. This is part 8. And let's see. Jesus was telling them not to worry about the material things. You want to treat people. You want to treat people the same way you act. I had to act. Put the word "act" here. No, this has nothing to. Jesus doesn't. There's no learning or teaching here from that. Again, have love for your enemies, not love your enemies. Love for your enemies, and be kind when you give and expect nothing in return. Your reward is to be angels for YV, for he himself, or he is kind to them. I don't know, ungrateful to evil men. That's just extra words that don't need to be here. There's a lot of correction here. Do good is to be kind. And do good and give. You're not lending if you're going to expect nothing in return. So you give and expect nothing in return. I think that's pretty easy to understand there. Judge as you want to be judged, nor condemn that you might be condemned. Now, I had to use the word might here because it's relating to a sentence about it has a lot to do with the word might condemn. Okay, so because it has to be, Jesus is trying to talk to us about to be forgiving of others and not, you have enough. That's why you can give to others. And you don't need anything for the material wealth or that. So now he's starting to teach to be merciful like our Father, and not to judge the way you to be judged or condemned as you might be condemned, because it's the possibility that maybe someday you will be condemned. Not that you will, as you will not be condemned. But it has to be that you might be condemned because they are sharing the same trust in our Creator as you are. So it has to be might. And forgive as you want to be forgiven, because you aren't talking about pardon. We're talking about the word forgiven to enter into heaven. So this is to be forgiven in relationship, to be forgiven as our Creator is to forgive you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, really will pour into your lap. I don't know what the hell that means. So let's get rid of that. And your standards of measuring will be measuring the measuring of you. Yes, all your knowledge is given to you by our Creator. So this standard that he's given you of your measuring will be the measuring that you give to others. So here again, he spoke in parables. I had to add the S here on this one. A blind person, we don't know if blind man, they were used as a male, but it could have been male or female. Can't guide another blind. A male can, he will, or they might fall into a pit. A blind person cannot guide another blind, or they might fall into the pit together. Again, then he's going to give another parable. A student is not higher than their teacher, but after they have been fully trained, no, taught, they will be like their teacher. And why do you look for a speck in your brother's or friend's eye? I changed to friends on purpose for the fact that at work, even though that you're working around others that might be atheist, example, but at work you need to communicate with them to do your job, so you would call them a friend at work, friend's eye. So you're trying to teach them while you're there about this wrong. The speck is a dirt that bothers your eye. It's preventing you from seeing correctly. And when you did not notice the speck in your own eye, and say to your friends, let me remove that speck from your eye. When you yourself didn't, these words don't need to be there, because you did not, and you did not remove that speck, not a log, but a speck from your own eye, because you're talking about this speck in the verses above. This makes you a hypocrite for not removing your own wrong that's in your eye. Example, if you tell your friend not to be gossiping on others and you're gossiping about other things, this is wrong. Speaking evil of some way, spreading rumors untrue, those things, and then you turn around and do them. This is what Jesus is teaching here. First, remove the speck from your own eye, then you will see clearly. Then you can remove the speck from your friend's eye. I said friends were like that like an atheist at work. Well, I guess that is, I'm stating that wrong. The friend has to be one who has the fellowship in the belief our Creator exists. Yeah, I think that's a better definition than I gave above, or when I started this. Here's another parallel prune trees. Now, it says good trees. The thing here is a prune tree. Prune trees do not produce always bad fruit. See, good trees which produce bad fruit. Every tree that grows when the sun is on the morning sun, or that hits the tree, that let's just say apple, orange, whatever, pear. If you take that pear from that side of the tree and then you go to the opposite side and pick another fruit, it tastes different. It tastes less sweeter. So you would consider this a bad tasting fruit. So it can't be every tree does this, but it has to be prune trees do not produce always bad fruit. Okay. Because it's edible on the other side. Okay. But it's the unpruned tree that doesn't always produce good fruit, meaning it doesn't produce a full growth of the fruit. When you prune a tree, it gives more of whatever the tree has to produce the fruit to its fullest. So that's what's being said here, or the words what needs to be said. Now, there's a parable behind it, and I will explain every parable when I go to, at the end, when I go through everything after they're combined together. And because I'll probably using that as one book to teach from, but I truly like our Creator's message from his hidden formats, because there's a lot more of this text removed because it didn't make it in his format. Each tree is known by its fruit, not its own fruit, but its fruit. The rest is just gibberish. A good person brings forth their good from their heart, and I had to use the word heart here, down here. An evil person brings forth their evilness from their heart. This is Jesus teaching us that we know that our thoughts are in our head, but it's like the will to do something comes from the heart. It's like an emotional center that has to then bring forth what their words want to mean, or willing to be able to be said in a certain way to bring forth evilness. The same way it would be to bring forth your good, but it comes from your heart. I put it on solid ground because if they're built on a rock, it's not really secured to the rock. So if it's built on solid ground, and when the flood bursts against his home, it will not shake, but it will not fall, because it was being built well. That's why I'm saying if it was built on solid ground, it was, you have foundations, you have it tied to the ground, so it doesn't fall away. So if it was on the rock, it could be just swept away. Depends on how fast the current of water is. And who has heard me and did not act is like a man who built his home on solid ground. It will be taken. It will be like when a flood bursts against it, and it will collapse or be ruined. When you read the cleaning up here, you can see that all the words that I'm taking out really aren't needed to say the same thing. So I'm hoping you get that's easy to understand. So completed to finish is pretty much the same word. A centurion who's an Israeli. I needed to add the word Israeli because Jesus was not sent to the Romans to help them, so it has to be a centurion's Israeli slave, or the slave of a centurion. And I'm not sure that they would, I don't know if Romans had slaves. I really don't. So the word slave is hard for me to say that will keep it. So what I'll do here is put a question out for later. The sentinel who was deadly sick and about to die. They, like I was explaining before, when they get sick, they kind of knew different sicknesses meant death. So it has to be a deadly sick, was deadly sick and about to die. And when he heard about Jesus was nearby, he sent some elders, not Jewish. Jewish are those that don't believe in Jesus, so it can't be Jewish elders. It has to be elders that believed in Jesus, to ask him to come and heal his slave, who has to be an Israeli. Otherwise, he would not have done this. Came and begged him, his slave is worthy for you to heal him. So they must have not just said that, but they also must have said that he trusts in Jesus. And considering the word slave, now how did these others know about him? You know, a slave might be an Israeli servant, because this way could communicate without permission from the slave owner to talk to other people. It's for him to send the elders. He loves our nation who built us for us. And something like this doesn't need to be said. Jesus went with them, and he's not far from the home. The centurion came. I'm saying it's not his son or friends that sent him, because the way that he discussed with Jesus, do not trouble yourself to go any farther, for I am not worthy to have you in my home, not under my roof, but in my home. For this reason, just say your words for my servant to be healed. See, here the word is servant. So let's come up here and put in the word servant. Oh, and now we have the correct word put in the text. So now he's going to keep explaining that I am a male with authority and with soldiers under me. When I say to one of them, go, he goes, and then another soldier comes to me, and then he tells him to do the same thing. Comes to my slave, do this. We know that they're not slaves, they're soldiers. As I order him, they do what they've been ordered to do. When Jesus heard this, he turned to the crowd and said, not even an Israeli have I found such trust in me. Not great faith, but trust in Jesus. So now we have a centurion that is believing the Hebrew uh, Hebrew creator, and believing in the Hebrew creator as the creator of everything. When they returned to his house, they found his servant was healthy. After Jesus went to the village called that. Okay, now this needs to be a space here because it's a different story. But we have to change this here to the servant. Okay. Now comes a different story after Jesus went to the village called Nain, he and his disciples were with him, with a large crowd around him. As he approached their gate, a dead boy was being carried out, not a male, not a man. I changed man. All man went through and did find, search, and replace in the text through the processor here. And we have the word boy because it was her only son and she was a widow. So it being I'm considering a son at a certain age, just as if it was a boy is at a certain age, a son is at a certain age. So this should be dare a boy. I guess I need to leave it as a male. I'm seeing that now because my mind is going at 100 miles an hour, so I'm hoping that when I reread it, that I've done the correct editing here. When we approached their gate, a dead male was being carried out. He was her only son. She was a widow. Her family and friends from the village were with her, not a city, because we got um they I guess they did find this city, and it's supposed to be 2 miles away from Nazareth. The other story says that when Jesus left his hometown, that he went to this next village, and this is the story, and they would have been without disciples in that story. And then it would have been village to village is the way I'm seeing it. If the village kept growing, kept getting larger over time, then yes, then that village had stone buildings made, storehouses, maybe even a large inn for people to visit. But the object is right now at this time, I'm going to claim that it's just another village that they went to, that he went to. When Jesus saw her, he had compassion for her. Then he told her, "Do not weep for him." And I have, see down here, it says Jesus stopped, but what he did is we came up and opened his coffin. We can't do that unless it stops. So this text has to be written here. Um, and since it's moved text, I'm not going to make this gray text. And when you come back to find out, you'll find that this video explains why. So when he came up, he opened his coffin and he said to the young boy, "Wake up." So not arise, but wake up. Jesus considers them in other places as sleeping. So I told the boy, "Wake up." The dead boy sat up and began speaking. Then Jesus gave him to his mother. Everyone there praised YV, and they were saying his greatest prophet is among us, for YV has sent him to his people. This was reported, okay, this is what I was getting at here, or thinking in my head, that if you notice the story here, even though he has disciples, they spread the word around to the surrounding areas again, to their surrounding area, not district or region, but um, this text, um, see, it says it went out through over all Judea. Well, Judea is the land down farther. Nazareth is here. This is Nain right here. Okay. So this is where they're saying that all the news went traveling to, and it didn't. Okay. Now, a spoiler alert: when Jesus actually on the Passover in the favorable year of the Lord, our Lord, he healed healed somebody that was waiting by a pool of water. Then he went up somewhere around here. This is where I believe Abraham, Isaac, Jacob lived. And then they were talking about he met a woman at a well, and she was talking about this well of forefathers. So this location would be about where the area is well. And then he travels up to Nazareth. Then he reads from there, and then they kick him out. And then he goes here, and now he's going to start going up and down and around this way, and then come over. This is where I believe they crossed the Jordan, but he might have come up over here to get, and then to the desert area here tempted by Satan. So I believe somewhere in through here, we're going to come across the city, and at that time I'm going to show you on the web the city and how close it is to the river. That the text will say, by this city he was baptized. Okay, but the text on this one has them with disciples. If you notice, there is so much inconsistency between the stories, and that's them putting in the confusion. Like I said, when these first writers were writing, they didn't write in Greek. They were written by Israelis in Hebrew, and they wrote the story of what Jesus did. What these what mankind did for their God is take the text and change it to the meaning for their God. And I'm going to show you Jesus saying those words at some time. I don't know where it's at, but he does say that. And this is why there's confusion. That's why the story is so hard to read, and why it's contradicting, and why Jesus says so many stupid things. Because the Greeks don't understand the Hebrew laws or commandments by our Creator. It's kind of like we're just trying to corrupt the text and fool people at that time that we're in charge of the text now and we're going to do this. But today we have computers to where it allows me to do this. I mean, it's so easy to correct the text when you actually study and know the truths. I know our Creator made me see him, so that I have a greater advantage over all out of everybody. But once I he gave me his hidden format, and then that was a stunning, what, like I told you before and showed you before, Jesus text, sometimes words come to your head or thoughts, and then it's kind of like, that's the answer. Okay. I'd been doing editing on the text since like 1988, and spending 10, 12 hours a day for many years on the text. And then it was like, I'm done, but it's all junk. It's kind of like nobody had ever believed me. And then I picked up the text again, and I said, well, let me start with the text. I got done. And I went through all the books again, and I cleaned up a little bit more and made some more editings. And then I got did the Gospels, and the last one I got to was John, and all of a sudden it was kind of like in the very beginning of John, it was like, how are they using this word? And it was like there was everyone, but it was, when I was reading it, it didn't make sense. And when I did a search, I think I seen it have the word ones by itself. And that's when I realized it meant every first. Our Creator created every first. And that just but I could only do that when I said, I'm only going to use the Hebrew text from Strong and not go by any of these extra words, because in Strong, let me show you here in the Bible program here. See how many dots are over here? So if I click here, then it's all these words that are here before it gets over to here. But a lot of times, when I click on a word, see, like they're trying to add often and would often. They added so they're adding a word here. Just like this. I wish I could show you more, because sometimes it's, see, they're adding that word, but what is this word here? Okay, you can see most of the time they're small, non-meaning words, but a lot of times there is text that they'll, like the word there will be in there, that wasn't there. Just maybe it was like the last edits that they put in, that they now just use a dot, but they said that the word is in the text. Because when they do copyrights, these words that we're seeing here in fuchsia, these are the texts they're adding in 1977. But I bet you if you open up their book today, they're using this as straight up like it was always in the text. And they're adding other words in and around the text, building up new sentences. But the object is that these words now, if you clicked on them, there would be a dot in the concordance. What I'm saying is that there are places in here that they've already done that can be seen, that they've added maybe all Jesus gave him. Just as an example, is 3 words that when we click in, that that there should have had a Greek word or a Hebrew word. So the thing there is when I did our creators, or when I decided to do just the Greek words and use the least amount of small words I could to connect them, all of a sudden there was a pattern. Like, you could say a small word, like 2 words together, but using only one Greek word, and then the next line, because it would be a comma, then these 2 words hooked together and you needed these words. And then the next format I found was like you had 2 Greek words hooked to make like a small little verse, and then comma, and then it had 2 more to add together. So that would be a verse. There's 3 or 4 of these formats that came about by just using the Greek Greek side of the text, adding the least amount of words in. Let's go back over here for a second, and you can see that they were trying to bring him in. They were trying to bring and set. So bring him and set him. And notice how these 2 words are the same. But see, they could have just made the text trying to bring and set him down in front of him. Okay, and you wouldn't need all these other little words in here. Okay, let's see the word set. Okay, set and down are there. But the object is that's the type of thing that I was leaving out a lot of words and putting in just what is one word or two word, made the least amount. That's why I'm doing them all here, is trying to get the least amount of words to say the sentence and say it enough to say that I'm not throwing out stuff unless it's they're making Jesus lie or making him look stupid, or they've got the wrong understanding for the word. Because if you notice, I'm keep referring to the Hebrew text about a lot of these words that when I try to explain things like the word forgiveness, in any other word that you're trying to figure out a definition, don't go to a secular dictionary. Go to the text, make a search, and I'm going to have a computer set up over here off to the side, and I'll have to set up a camera for you to see how I make a search, because over here on this one, I can't copy it. Say that example, let me show you. If I were to say paralyzed, I could go up here and hit this little button here, and every verse in the Bible they have lined up, and it says I can copy it to, and I can copy it to all the items to clipboard or whatever, and then I could paste them into a Word document. That I can't do that anymore. But the object is get to the right one, and I can't do that on this anymore. But I just ordered 3 computers, all identical to each other, to be able to Windows XP to put this program on to do that. Because I actually had it in 2 notebook computers, but the only thing is one started going bad about 8 months, 10 months ago. So I was down to 1, and I've been searching to try to secure the availability for me to go through and do a lot of searching at one time, and then build up a word list. You can't, I don't believe you can do that on the web. That's why this program is so unique. But soon I'll be able to show you like all the verses for the title creator. Just go through and show it to you. And then show you, go verse for verse by this program, and show you that sometimes they're using a different Hebrew word for the word creator. So all of a sudden the word creator isn't really coming from one Hebrew word. But it's to have what it is going to give me the availability to have that for myself for the rest of my lifetime, because those 3 will work together. Sometime I'm hoping that this program gets changed, because I think it's a 16-bit program. It used to be an 8-bit program, and then they updated it to a 16-bit, and I believe that's the program that I've got here. And then somebody needs to update it to 64-bit so everybody can have it on the computer and not have to worry like I am, like I'm going to lose this information. Like search every word in the Bible, this Bible, to mean this. And I do that when I'm looking. I used to do that a lot when I was doing a search for a word, like the word gospel. That's why when you see some of the videos down below, like the word spirit or Holy Spirit, and I show you all 90 of them in the 4 books, and then I go through each of the verses. So it's unique in that perspective that that program is very, very important. But I'm hoping to get those 3 together, and then I won't be worried about opening up and ruining my old stuff. So my other ones, so I'll use them until they're gone and then use the other ones. But hopefully I make it until I'm gone, but I have the availability. But it would be nice to, like I said, somebody take this program, make it 16-bit. I don't know how it's done, but I'm sure a good programmer would know how to do that. And the boy sat up, and then when Jesus came back to his mother, everyone not glorifying, you cannot glorify our Creator. So they praised our Creator. And then they were talking about him as the greatest prophet, and they know that YHVH has sent him to his people. So has visited his people, but Jesus isn't visiting; he's being sent to him. He's there and now. So, and this was reported, and then I got off track by saying that how this word here is they sent it to the surrounding areas. This word areas might be the surrounding tribes. Because when you get to the promised land, here it would have been to these areas or these tribes. So, but then the followers for John reported to him about what Jesus did these things. Let's see, John is dead a couple verses back, and now he's being reported to them after this time. Whoops, I forgot to bring you back here. And so I went through and I was pointing really important that you can't use the glorify. But the thing here is this text here, right here, reported to John. Well, John's already dead from the text from above. So there we have more words out of place. What's going on? And it's not all these things. It's what Jesus was doing. It's to be truthful and more accurate.